Hey, sorry about the interruption there. Had to get a little bit off track, and since I'm too lazy to want to make both of these edited together on one video on the Movie Maker, I'm just making a part 2 so we continue with the comic reviews here. Let's continue by swapping over to Dark Horse Comics now with B.P.R.D, The Hell on Earth, Return of the Master, number 1 of 5. Which, technically, I have to address a slight bit on the numbering with this, because I read the letter column after this issue and come to find out that by November, I believe, the B.P.R.D will be swapping over to regular numbering with issue 100 of that series. So the third issue of this series will in fact become 100 of a continual ongoing series. I don't know why they did these fucking mini-series, but, you know, hey, whatever. So we're kind of picking off after the events of the last issue, which I did not read. I have a little bit of catching up to do with the B.P.R.D. My thing with this series is I collect it because it ties in with Hellboy, and since that character is dead since last summer, I haven't really been keeping up with it, but we still have some stuff going on in here, and it seems to be a bit more of a payoff than what Todd McFarlane's revamped Spawn series has been doing. We have Mike Mignola plotting the issue with John Arcudi on the art. This man in the trench coat here is the focal point of this issue because his coming is harboring yet more destruction and mayhem thanks to the children of the I.D.W Jihad. Basically, for what's going on, back in the Hellboy series, Hellboy died last summer, actually fighting the I.D.W Jihad itself, and there was like this huge clash in England, and both of them were killed, and now the B.P.R.D is contending with the remaining children of this creature. There's like hundreds of these creatures that were the child of the 7 dragons, which are one, and the B.P.R.D is kind of licking its wounds. I don't know where Liz Sherman is in all this. Apparently, I'm getting that she's still missing since the events of the Black Flame. And we got Abe Sapien is in stasis right now after being shot by a woman because of some revelations of his ties to the Frog Army, which has been a constant plague for the B.P.R.D for the last few years now. Kate Corrigan has her hands full in this issue. She's, you know, trying to figure out what's going on with this person that shot Abe. And meanwhile, a lot of stuff is going on. Like, a lot of flight controls have been grounded, especially into Norway, which has become a bit of a refugee center for a lot of the supernatural chaos which is breaking all across Europe right now. And in fact, many of the dragon children have now become enacting all over the world. There's just, you know, mass pandemonium everywhere, and the B.P.R.D has its hands full. But the safe zone is not entirely what it seems to be. The coming of this man shows to be a very bit of large, or actually a huge clue that he's fucking trouble, especially concerning the transformation that he causes with some of the dogs at the airport security. This issue is a little bit more interesting than when I dropped off reading it last year. I'm kind of getting back onto this series, and it seems to be picking up some steam, certainly, from kind of the lull that it had gotten into before I dropped it. If you're not reading the B.P.R.D, I'd kind of recommend that you jump back on board, because you would get so much more of a scope than what the 2 Hellboy movies would offer. And this is kind of like Marvel's Ultimate Universe, where stuff just keeps happening and building up on itself, and it's really good. Mignola is doing a terrific job with his story, certainly much better than what Todd McFarlane is doing with Spawn right now, and I would recommend it. Lightening up the tone a little bit on Tales of the Supernatural. This is one comic from my childhood, or actually of a childhood franchise that I enjoyed, that I've gotten into, Kevin Eastman's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from I.D.W. This actually came out a couple of weeks ago, but I just now finally got to be able to pick it up in my pull list. I'm not doing the micro series, nor am I doing the color classics, although I have heard that they are quite good as well. Basically what we got going on in this issue, it's been out for a couple of weeks, so it's not really that much for me to go ahead and spoil it. The Turtles are still licking their wounds after the encounter with the Shredder. And in this issue we have Karai, who is Shredder's granddaughter apparently, trying to prove herself as his second-in-command of the Foot Clan, and come to find out that she is not as ready for that job as what the Shredder thinks that she is. We get some good character stuff going on in here with the Turtles. Casey Jones, April O'Neil is going on in this as well. And we are starting to get a little bit more of payoff with General Krang right now, and aside from the interesting stuff with the reincarnation of the Turtles and the Shredder that we've been getting in this issue, we also get an interesting payoff in the form of not only Krang, but of his species in general. This has been a story since its launch that has done well at blending many of the notions of the 80s cartoon, what the comics were, and just everything in that franchise. This has just been taking off, and it's tremendously wonderful payoff reading this. I have enjoyed this series, and for anybody that's not on it, I really think you're missing out. And that's really all I've got to say about it. Now, moving on to Marvel. And let's hope no more interruptions plague on this. Let's take a journey over into the Ultimate side of things. This came out last week. This is Bendis' Ultimate Comics all-new Spider-Man. God, I'm getting tired of this fucking lazy naming that they're doing with these comics. We've been continuing with Miles Morales now, who has been meeting, or actually had just met Aunt May and Gwen Stacy, and we have Mary Jane show up in this issue as well. This is basically a face-off in between Captain America and Miles Morales over the fact that Cap is still feeling tremendously guilty about what happened to Peter from the events of Death of Spider-Man last year, and he doesn't want to see another kid go down the same path that Peter did. And, you know, Miles' heart is in the right place, and, you know, Steve is sitting there telling him, I don't want you doing this, period. And, you know, Aunt May, or Gwen, I think, offered the best advice that they could for Miles in this, which is, this is like the first half, not even the first half of this issue deals with that little bit of character drama. She tells him, you know, don't do what Peter would do. Don't do what I say, or don't do what the girls say, or damn sure don't do what Captain America says. Ask yourself what you would do in this type of situation, and pursue it. And, you know, Miles has had a lot on his plate. He's dealing with a lot for a 13-year-old kid, especially for the fact that he may or may not have been responsible for the death of his uncle after that fight with the Prowler back from issue 12. And then we head towards a confrontation with the Rhino, who is back in this, and Spider-Man has to figure out what to do in order to help Cap take him down. And it's just a terrific issue. There's a lot of things that I complained about what Brian Michael Bendis has done. I could say, like Jeff Johns, that Bendis, even though he's stretched over twice the amount of books that Johns is doing right now, this is his baby, and he is doing terrific with it. This relaunch series, I was skeptical about it first, as I've addressed in past videos before, but this thing is like a rocket. You light it, it takes off, and it just keeps going, it just keeps going, and it gets better. I think probably the only thing that I might criticize this issue on is we're falling under the Divided We Fall banner for the major status quo of the Ultimate Universe right now, with all the stuff from the Spider-Man, or not the Spider-Man, but the United States being under such siege as it is right now. This has very little to do with tying in with that. That's probably my only complaint about it, but it still doesn't change the fact that this is a terrific issue, and absolutely recommend that you pick this up. Next up is Ultimate X-Men number 16, Ultimate Comics X-Men. Come on, Marvel. I like your Ultimate books, but please try and tone this back down to a more shorter title to where I don't have to waste so many syllables pronouncing it. This is a transition period for the Divided We Fall event now, which we've been through 3 months of it. Now we're turning into United We Stand. Now the people are starting to take back the country, or at least trying to. We've certainly got some stuff going on with that over in the Ultimates. And now we are doing it here with the X-Men. B.P.R.D is leading this little ragtag group of James Hudson, aka the new Wolverine, Iceman, and Rogue. And they're actually meeting up with last issue. They met up with Nick Fury, who is actually going to help them liberate some mutants from some prison internment camps now. I really enjoyed this issue, and I've actually enjoyed this Ultimate X-Men series much more than I did the previous one that was done before Ultimatum happened. Because we're seeing sort of a... We started out with the first two story arcs where we're seeing sort of a pseudo God loves, man kills, and Days of Future Past unfolding, and it's really good. In terms of action, there's not really a great deal that happens in this issue, but the big thing that shines about this issue is that we're continuing to see a story which is focused on the wonderful character that P.P.R.D is, and seeing her step up and just, you know, become a leader. And even Nick Fury is sort of encouraging her about this as well. I'm absolutely enjoying this series. Nick Spencer is doing a terrific job with it. Kind of wish that this was $2.99 instead of $3.99, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm enjoying this book immensely. And that's all there is to it. Moving on now. I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. Venom number 24. Let's hurry up and get out of this Monsters of Evil stuff. Cullen Bunn is writing. I'm going to say the issue is okay. Now, it's no Rick Remender, and it's not fair to compare Cullen Bunn to Rick Remender, but I just want to hurry up and get out of this stuff. I'm not really pleased that we're heading off into the Minimum Carnage thing, mostly because I don't like the symbiotes, and because I kind of feel like this title suffers when it's forced to step off from being a character study of Flash and his relationship with the symbiote, and just having to put him off in these little events. But I'm still going to give it a fair shot. We're continuing this thing with the symbiote. You know, it's going crazy, and, you know, the fight in between Venom and Damon Hellstrom, aka the Son of Satan, going on. And then we get introduced to the Monsters of Evil with this. I'm smelling a lackluster conclusion coming next issue, because this only is a 3-issue arc, and I'm kind of premeditating that the conclusion of this will obviously suck. But you know, maybe we can be looking forward to better here. So hopefully things will improve after this. Let's jump over to a lot of the X titles now, which will be taking up the majority of my conclusions of this comic review. Start off with a gem by Mr. Peter David in X Factor 243. This is certainly one that will be talked about in years to come for X-Men fans, as the definitive origin of Polaris. What we got going on in this issue is that we're dealing with a lot of stuff. You know, Peter David is, you know, a person who loves his funny moments, and, you know, with X Factor and some of the dark stuff that we're going to be having in this issue, we got to kind of have a little avidity to it. Thanks to the combined efforts of Layla Miller, Monet, and Longshot, we're going to find out what's bugging Polaris about, you know, what happened to her folks. And in this issue, we get a very bad sort of Aesop's fable lesson in this, is that be careful what you go digging for, because you just might find it. It's a very powerful issue. It really kind of got me choked up for at the end a little bit. Peter David, as always, does terrific with it. It's just great. This is an X book for people that are afraid to read X books. You don't have to worry about continuity. It pretty much follows its own, or actually marches to the beat of its own drummer, and it's just terrific. That's really all I've got to say about it. There's not really too much that I want to spoil here with this. Okay, apparently I got something mixed in by mistake. Yeah. Alright, we might have to break off from the X-Men a little bit because I forgot about this. I'm going to skim over this one real quick, too. Matt Fraction, Invincible Iron Man number 524. This is part 4 of the Future story arc. Not really much to say about this issue. The writing is good as usual, and Salvador Larroca's artwork is good. We're rushing headlong towards the conclusion of Fraction's run on this series, and I'm going to be honest, this is not as concluding, it doesn't seem to be concluding as strong as I would have liked. We do have a little bit of a revelation with the Jarvis technology of Pepper's rescue suit. Actually has a surprising confession to make. Also with the fact that Tony is still busy, meanwhile, trying to raise up a revolt against the Mandarin while he's under his control, and you know, shit's ready to hit the fan and it's going crazy. This has kind of lost its steam as it's racing towards its conclusion because, from what I understand, Fraction has 3 issues left to go on this. It's good, but it's not great. That's all I'll say about it. Hopefully this will, you know, make me take my words back and actually surprise me with its conclusion, but this is good enough for what it is right now. Back to the X-Men. Jason Aaron's Wolverine and the X-Men number 16. We get a little backstory on Mr. Cade Kilgore, the 11-year-old who has taken over the Hellfire Club, the little brat pack that we were introduced to back in X-Men Schism. And we get his background. And I gotta say, he's a sick little fuck. Basically, we find out how that he orchestrated taking out his father, orchestrating how he took over the Hellfire Club. Just, you know, what kind of a little Damien Thorne type of character that he is. All of the kids in here are darkly humorous to sit there and just look at. And laugh at along with their antics, especially this crazy little bitch over here in the background. She's just absolutely sick. The fact is that these kids are the youngest to get sent to Rikers ever, and it's actually so much fun that the girl doesn't want to leave the place once they set off a mass chain of events of chaos just in order to get themselves out of there. And you know, Cade Kilgore is pretty much establishing how much of a badass he is when he stares down Scott Summers in this issue, and it's great stuff. My complaint is that we don't get to see Wolverine and the X-Men in here, but, you know, for what this issue is, it's a backstory on our villain of the piece, and I think they do a pretty good enough job at it. I was kind of surprised when Hayden Clear Heroes actually said that she didn't like this issue, but, you know, to each their own. I actually enjoyed this issue, and I would recommend it. It's good stuff. Now this one I dropped at issue 9 just because of how much I couldn't stand it, especially with Greg Land's art. Upon the recommendation of one of my subscribers with a message that he sent to me this past Thursday, I went and picked this up yesterday just to see what he was talking about with it. Uncanny X-Men number 18. This is probably going to be the only issue I'm picking up of this. We're dealing with the fallout of, well, Cyclops and Emma still have their powers, and actually, this is a good thing that I chose to read this before I did Avengers vs. X-Men. Excuse me. Apparently, Cyclops and Emma are the only 2 people with the Phoenix power left, and they're sitting down, actually, while their bodies are in the middle of the battling the other X-Men and the Avengers, and they're eating steak and they're drinking wine, and they're going back and forth over, you know, what's going to happen. Now, Emma absolutely knows that Cyclops wants her powers, and says, you know, I didn't think you were capable of such bloodlust. And just, you know, the stuff that unfolds in between them is actually better than what I've seen for these past few issues. And this kind of sets up, too, why I think Cyclops chose to take down Emma, and not just because he was greedy for the powers, but just because maybe something of Cyclops in there had finally snapped at her, and just like, you know, goading Cyclops with the fact that she's been thinking about Namor all the time that she was with him. The reason why I picked up this issue, though, is because the subscriber who told me about this, I said that I wanted to see a better relationship unfolding in between Colossus and Magik. So, to that subscriber, I say thank you for letting me pick up this issue, because this is good. It does address that, but it takes a very dark twist on this. We have a revelation about Magik in this issue, and the fact of what she made her brother do when it came to taking the Juggernaut powers. Now, she finally tells him that you do understand me. And the revelation that she gives Colossus actually enrages him enough to where he's, you know, just ready to kill her now. And it's just really, really well done. This was a better issue than what I've read in the past. I didn't bother with all that shit that they did with Sinister. And, you know, I'm not going to pick up any more of this series, but for what this was good, and I do thank Ace for recommending this to me, so I really appreciate this, man, but I'm not picking this up, but this was a good issue, so thank you for that. Moving along now to the big blockbuster event of the summer, Avengers vs. X-Men Round 11. This time we have Bendis on the writing, and Oliver Coipel, or Koppel, or however you say his name, on the art. The art in this issue is really fantastic. And this cover is a dead giveaway of what happens in this issue, but that's not the only thing that happens in here. You know, the Avengers are going after Cyclops now. You know, Cyclops is sitting there, and he's just finally snapped. He goes crazy. Excuse me. He's just had enough, and all the Avengers are laying into it. And we got a surprise too. Captain America actually approaches a certain someone about helping them take down the Phoenix 2 now, and it's just really great. We get the X-Men and the Avengers all teamed up trying to take on Cyclops, and meanwhile we have a certain someone from the past who they've been kind of building up in this series a little bit, and now he's stepping up to take out Cyclops. And well, we've been getting to this, and this character who's come in here, now we've been teased with his death. I'm not spoiling this on the premise that someone who managed to ignore all of the news hype that happened the day that the story came out will actually be surprised by this. We're being teased by this character's death in this issue, like Cyclops just finally fucking snaps. Excuse me. Now he's turned into a villain. Like, he's been turning into a villain before, and Magneto's still doing that whole, you know, you're becoming more and more like me, and Cyclops just finally says, shut the fuck up, you just sound like everyone else. And, you know, it finally snaps. And he does manage to overpower Emma, and now the Phoenix is joined up in him. And now we have the Dark Cyclops saga unfolding next issue. This issue was good. The series has been, you know, a terrific run that I've sat through. There's some things that I kind of wish were handled a little bit better, but overall this is a good issue. However, my biggest complaint, and I talked about this with Chris last night too, we had a build-up of Scarlet Witch in this, and we had a build-up of Hope in this. You know, for 11 issues, they haven't really done much of anything. You know, they've certainly been page-turners for the battle, and turning things back over to the side of the Avengers, but when it came down to it, we've had all this build-up of Hope, and for 11 issues, she hasn't really been doing much of anything, so I'm expecting the last issue of this, which comes out in 3 weeks, to really pull something out of its ass about how she's going to stop it. But this is a good issue, and it really just leaves your jaw hitting the ground about the potential death they teased in this issue, which apparently seems to be rumored to be confirmed now. We'll just have to wait and see with it. But it's stellar, and I absolutely love this issue. Good job to Bendis on this, and to Oliver as well for the art. One other review that I have to do with this, Christos Gage on X-Men Legacy number 273. A good issue, but a very lackluster one. This is kind of concluding the tale of Rogue being spirited away to another world by Magique after their little confrontation, and her helping two armies come together and find out that they've been duped into fighting each other for so long. This was an ending that really let me down. It's a good story, but a less than stellar conclusion on the ending, where, you know, you got two groups who act so stupid they don't know what to do, and then our protagonist, who is in the middle of this conflict, you know, just happens to helpfully suggest some way to which they can work together, and that's it. End of story. Very anticlimactic. But a good little run, but disappointing. Hopefully the next issue of this series will be something a little bit better. Finally, let's take it over to my favorite X book. Uncanny X-Force number 31 by Rick Remender, with art by what's this fellow's name? We have art by Phil Noto on X-Force, and oh my god, was this issue good. I've loved this book since it began running, and really made me take notice of Rick Remender. We are in the midst, actually in the middle of the Final Execution story arc, which is going on right now. And this is dealing with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, which is kidnapped Evan, or Kid Apocalypse, from the Jean Grey Institute, and they're trying to goad him into becoming Apocalypse. Basically, everything that Evan was told about himself from Phantom X, he finds out is a lie, thanks to the Shadow King telling him. This new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants is terrific. We have Daken, who is the mastermind behind it, and actually is written pretty good in this issue. We got Sabretooth with a Mystique. We got Omega Red and the Omega Clan. We got the Skinless Man. We got the Shadow King. Good shit's going on in here, and we're also planting the seeds of the Brotherhood possibly turning on one another as well. There's a lot of stuff going on in this issue, as well as the introduction of a new character into this as well. I believe her name is Ava, which is Phantom X's ship as a robot. I think that's where he came from. And it's just all around great. We're mostly dealing with the Brotherhood in this issue, and apparently with the idea that Sabretooth seems to be hinted at, the one that he's actually pulling the strings with everything going on with the Brotherhood. And there's also a really good twist towards the end of the story. Somebody's getting fed up with this. She can't take the hypocrisy that Wolverine's putting out there anymore. You know, while I do love Wolverine, I will confess he is a fucking hypocrite when it comes to his kill policy, but then wanting to raise the kids up to try and quell the animal within him. This issue does a good job of addressing that double standard that he has to him, as well as a surprise ending with a character who actually decides to get some courage back when he could not take on Kid Apocalypse the first time. This is a terrific series, and it's racing headlong towards a conclusion which will spell bad things for everyone involved in this title. I'm loving this. I praise the hell out of this series, and if you're not reading this, you've really been missing out on something good. Uncanny X-Force number 31, I think, would be definitely my pick of the week for what I've gotten here. I think it even beat out X-Factor for the emotional tone that it put into it as well. And that's really all I've got to say about it. Well, if you're still with me this long after I started this comic review and gotten into part 2, I thank you for watching with me, and hopefully I can get back to doing this a little bit better on the weekends. If you have any kind of feedback on this, leave comments. Be happy to reply to you. And if you like what you see here, and just go ahead and subscribe to it. And I try to do the best I can with putting out some better and more informative entertainment for anyone. Well, that does it for my comic review. So until next week, I hope you all read some good stuff. And until then, I will catch you guys next time. So have a good one.